have you tonight. So we have lots of people tuning in wanting to know about how you do the thing, Dee, and how we do it, I should say, when it comes to winning with corporate contracts. And I'll go ahead and introduce you. First of all, this is one of a special interview for me. I don't know if you saw any of the posts that I shared earlier about me meeting Dee, but I heard about Dee Marshall long before I left corporate. I had a friend named Siobhan Clark, who was from New Jersey, living here in North Carolina. And she told me, and I was telling her about my goals and dreams. This had to be in like 2011, 2012. And she said, oh, well, you should follow my friend Dee Marshall. And at that time, I had these goals and dreams. I didn't even really know many other Black women personally. You know, we all know Auntie O, right? Black women personally who were running a successful company outside of their corporate role. And so I went home, I looked her up and found all this information about her, found out about Girlfriends Pray. And then fast forward, and I'll show you, and I told her, I was like, I'll put you on my vision board. She was like, what? So I'll show that to you all in a second. But we met in 2016 at the National Minority Supplier Development Conference in Chicago. And it was at that moment, it wasn't for me a fangirl moment. It wasn't a, let me take a selfie moment. It was just like a I see you moment. And it's so great to meet you. Knowing that there was something coming, I didn't know what, I didn't know when, but I knew that we would see each other again. And so I wanted to just share. This is literally like from back in the day. It says motivation. I don't know if you all can see that, but it's like Michelle Obama, there's you. You know, we had National Headshot Day back in like a couple days ago, right? Oprah, Robin Roberts, just a few of the women at that time in that year that I looked up to. And it said, I don't know how I'm going to do this, God, but Lord, you're going to make a way. And so here we are.
Wow.
Here we are.
You know, I could cry right now. Mm-hmm. I just to that is so powerful.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just so powerful, and it's so encouraging and validating, because even before we get to the interview, you know, our gift, I always say, you know, your gift is not for you, but it's for somebody else. So just when we step up, we inspire others. So there's somebody somewhere you're on their vision board, but you just never know it.
You never know. You never know. Yeah.
I don't think about what I do. You're the second person who has shown me an image from a vision board that I was on, and it just really blessed my heart. So thank you so much. Thank you. And you're right. We met. It was a eye-to-eye moment. It was a sister girl. You're a business owner. I'm a business owner. I hope you felt like that.
I did.
And I'm like, girl, you're here. Yeah, we're doing the business thing. So I'm excited to be here.
Yes. And that moment actually is why I wanted to have this conversation, Dee, just for the simple fact that I remember we met, and it was a brief conversation, but you looked at me and you said, I'm so proud you're here. You said, I don't see many of us operating at this level in this space. And so for me, that was my first conference as a certified business owner. And so I was overwhelmed by all of the leadership that was in the, like, access to people, like at, you know, major corporations that we want to be a part of, we want to shop and all of that, and we want to do business with. And just being overwhelmed by that. And so we had that moment, and you said, we don't see many of us operating at that level. And so for me, I know there's a lot of supposed movers and shakers in the online world, and many of them want to win with corporate contracts. But this conversation was important for us to be able to say, here's how, one of the ways, there's many ways, but here's one of the ways that you and I have been able to do it. So let me just introduce you real quick. Many of you already know probably Dee Marshall, but she is like the best ever coach to walk the face of the earth. Like literally, she's moving and shaking. And she's one of the top 25 Black influential women in business. And why not? Because you saw she was on my vision board way back in 2011, 2012. And so she's been doing it, moving and shaking at every major conference around the country. She is the author of Pray, Live, Win. She is the founder of Girlfriends Pray. She is the CEO of Diverse and Engage. She is the CEO of Yummy Life Coaching. She's also the author of, what's your newest book? Black Men.
Dear Black Man, we love you.
Dear Black Man, we love you. So she is just amazing, absolutely amazing. And the one thing that I absolutely love about her, and we're going to get to this part maybe towards the end of the interview, Dee, is the fact of how you are moving and shaking in corporate and also an amazing woman of faith. And you're unapologetic with that. And many people feel like you have to be one or the other, but you can't be both. And I've watched you do it seamlessly for years. So we'll get to that at the end. But so for those of you that are watching, if you know someone that has a small business, has a coaching company, a consulting firm, a training company, or any type of small business for that matter, and they want to get in with corporate contracts, learn more about small business certification, please share this video with them, because we are about to literally drop some knowledge of how it changed the game for us. So my first question, Dee, is so I'm minority certified, minority owned, you're women certified. Those are two different organizations, but I would love to know what made you make that decision years ago, and when did you make it? Was it as soon as you kicked the business off, you said, I want to be a woman-owned certified company, or sometime down the line? And what was happening that made you say, I want to become a certified business?
Yeah, so, well, here's the thing. I really am an accidental entrepreneur. I never set, years ago to become an entrepreneur. I was really following my purpose in life. And I stumbled into, oh, okay, if I'm following my purpose, then I'm going to have to create this myself. Oh, okay, that's a business. So that's how I came into, entrepreneurship and a business owner. And then once I learned more, I made a definitive decision to, no, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be a business owner. I'm going to run a business. And so me certifying, I'm going to tell you all the truth, okay, for everybody watching, and Melissa, because I know you. So it might look easy, but I did not certify at the first attempt because it was so overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't find myself in the space. So we're talking about certifying these third-party certifying entities that are responsible for fully vetting small businesses to do business with bigger businesses, usually private sector, public sector businesses. And so my first entree into one of those organizations, which was WeBank, WBENC, was there was a woman, her name is Beverly White. And I have a feeling that Beverly might have introduced me to WeBank, or maybe I had heard that's how you do it. And I went to a conference and it was overwhelming. It was over my head. But when I got there was a handful of really sharp Black women. It was Beverly White. It was Avis Yates, who is a mentor. These are all of the women who are still in my life. There was a woman, first name Doris McEwen. She's the one that actually kicked off my career in DC with the Congressional Black Caucus. So there were other women who were there, and I saw them doing it, even though it was overwhelming. So I think the lesson was, for that first time around, that I was just in over my head, and it was okay. But that other women were already standing in the space, and they made it a little bit more comfortable for me to just be there. And so that was my first time around. It was probably at a conference in Baltimore, I remember. And then I went back, I think I said, I'm going to certify. And then I did not certify. It was just too much. It was like, wait, what do I need to do? And so I backed away. I continued to go to the conferences, but I could never really find my way. And then several years later, I was at a conference and I ran into some of the WeBank folks, and they said, you should really come back, because I was okay at that time telling them, I really don't know that that's my business model, that it makes sense for me, but there was one nudge, and it was a woman by the name of Candace Waterman, who was the former chief of staff at WeBank. She's now the president of WIP, and she's a good friend, a huge supporter. She nudged, and then Carla Harris nudged. She said these words. For everybody who's watching right now, this is what it took. Even when certifying my business seemed so big and overwhelming, and I didn't know how I was going to do it, I didn't have it all figured out. Carla Harris said, you have to be in the marketplace. You have to get yourself out there into the marketplace. And those words just resonated with me in a way that it meant for me, you have to put yourself out there at the next level. That's how I received it. And so I circled back. I made a definitive decision, a commitment. I'm going to do it. And there's no turning back. It was probably the month of May, June. I said, by the end of the summer, I'm going to hit the send button on my application. So I took a big, overwhelming thing, and I just went with it. I gave myself 90 days to complete the application because I've had a lot of people say, you know what, it's overwhelming. I said, you know what, just give yourself time, and it won't be so overwhelming. And I completed the application. And, you know, I was really excited. I was really proud of myself. I remember they came to my office, my first office, and they said, wow, your office is gorgeous. And this was not a home office at the time. And I just was really, really super proud. So the long-winded answer is, how did I get to, or what made me certified? It was seeing other women doing it. And they were not just white women, but they were Black women who looked like me. And then having the nudge and the encouragement from, I had a mentor over at Coca-Cola. I had WeBank chief of staff in my corner, and I had Carla Harris said, you've got to get yourself in the marketplace. So I went with it. And that is why today I am WeBank certified. My company, Diverse and Engage LLC, is WeBank certified. We are also NMSDC certified. And not only am I NMSDC certified and WeBank certified, you know what? I'm going to pause and save my juicy, encouraging story until the end.
What? Okay. All right. So we will have to, everybody watching will have to hold on for that. But as you can tell, she has all the credentials behind her, and how she got there, just to recap, was people nudging her and you know, wanting to be in that space. And so that is just a huge takeaway. Wherever you are, wherever you want to be, are you in that space? If you say, I want to win with corporate contracts, well, you know, yes, there are, I'm sure, sponsorships and ads being given out just from people being online, but that may not be everyone's story. It may not be everyone's path. And are you in the place where there are movers and shakers?
That's right. And that's what it was. It was just, and you so captured it. It's, if this conversation is over your head, then this is good. You're in the right place, because that's what I did. Leaned in to get into spaces and conversations that were over my head. I was not playing with my peer group. I was hanging out at the conference with women who were like, they're multi-million-dollar business owners. In fact, Beverly White, and I could really cry at this moment because I'm just remembering Beverly White, who runs a company, BKW Transformation Group. She was certified. She registered for the conference. The conference cost a lot of money. Oh, yeah. And Microsoft then sponsored her. So she transferred her registration to me. And I just want women out there watching just to know that there are women who are rooting for you. And when you lean in, women will embrace you and connect you and want to lift you up. And so I'll never forget that. And, you know, and so, and it's very, you know, costly. It's very expensive because you've got the cost of registration, you've got, you know, hotel and accommodations and air travel. So, but it's worth it. Yeah. It is worth it. If you play at a bigger level, if you really want to up level, you know, a lot of people use jargon and use catchy hashtags and such. And I don't know that we really know what we're talking about, or, you know, it just sounds good. But if you really want to up level, then Lisa Nichols, one of my mentors, would say, go knees knocking, teeth chattering, and get in over your head. Investing in yourself.
Yeah. And just making that sacrifice. Because I know for me, a couple years ago, it was a sacrifice for me, because like you said, it's expensive. You have to get there, you have to pay for the conference, and everything else that comes along with it, along with all the other personal development and coaching and mentoring and conferencing that you're doing throughout the year. I want to just answer one quick question. I believe it's Gina. Forgive me if I'm not pronouncing it right, but she said certify as what? And so what we're talking about is anyone that has a small business. You can have that small business, but one of the ways that you can get access to major corporations that you want to get contracts with, and before I go into kind of the next level of what certification and all of that is you have to become certified. And what they will do is to make sure that your company is majority either woman owned or minority owned. There's a whole entire process that they look at, financials, they look at structure, they look at your past clients and recommendations. And I literally felt like I had delivered a child when I finished certifying in, I think it was like 2015 or something like that. And you have to go through the same process annually. But I felt like I given blood, gave birth, anything that you could give, I gave it. And I was like, whew, but it's been so well worth it. So that's what we're talking about when we mention certifying. And so many people have a question. Go ahead, Dee.
Yes. So to add to that, to make it really real and relevant for people who might be watching, for the most part, a lot of us see business as B2C business line only, business to consumer, right? Where if you're a coach or if you're providing a service, you're providing the service direct to a consumer buyer versus a business buyer. And so if you really want to scale your business, or you think you have a product or a service that is more applicable or right fit for a business, then that would be the purpose for certifying. But to make it really real for you, so if you do any kind of services and you want to go into a company, a private sector company, or a Fortune 500 company, what will happen is when you go to do business, whether, I'm going to give you an example, doing a workshop, because I got a call today. Actually, I got an opportunity on Friday to do a workshop for employees. One workshop. Actually, I found out today, well, Dee, it might be San Francisco and virtual to Seattle, or Austin and virtual to someplace else. It's a workshop during Career Week. It's for a publicly traded company, a little company that you may not know about, but it's currently trading at $29.41. The little company is called Dropbox. So there's an opportunity where Dropbox needs some training. They need a workshop. It's what many of you do, right? And so Dropbox reached out to Diverse and Engaged, and they're probably more interested in Diverse and Engaged, or your company, Melissa. Why? Because they have found us. We're a diverse supplier. We're listed, we're certified, we're vetted. They know we're a legitimate business, that we're in it full time, and they've looked at all of our financials. We've been through the process, and they can trust this opportunity to hire, to retain, to my company. And so Dropbox is an opportunity, and I'm not afraid to say, who it is and what, or to jinx it. It's like, look, it's going to be a deal or not. And you know what? I think what's cool about it is I'll put it out there. I'll let you guys know if it happens or if it, but I want to give you, that's the opportunity. Another opportunity, I host an annual conference here in my backyard. We sold out 2 years in a row, 500 women. And people are like, wait, they were confused. They said, is this Prudential's event? Is it your event? It says D Marshall Presents on the the lighting, Win, Rock, and Roll. And Prudential is there, and Unilever, and Panasonic, and Whole Foods, and Horizon, and the list went on, and D Free. And how does that happen? Those companies sponsored or do business with my company largely, although not exclusively. My company is a diverse supplier.
Mm-hmm.
So my company is vetted. So we're talking about certifying your company as a woman-owned company, as a minority-owned company, as a small business, certifying so that you can do bigger business or you can do business with other businesses. So that's the value of certifying your business. So when you want sponsorship, and sidebar, I'll give you a couple resources on sponsorship, and you want to know, well, how do they get to the Coca-Colas and the Prudentials, the Unilever? Unilever is a coaching client. I coach, my clients are at Unilever, they're at, right? Those are the makers of Dove. And what helps is you're certified, you're vetted. She's the real deal. Because when you're a little brown girl and you are in these spaces and it's a male dominated world, although y'all know the numbers, we're women. And so we're always having to prove and reprove. And so you always want to go to the table being 100% legitimate and being 100% having it tight. And so sometimes people will try to reduce me. They'll say, they'll think I'm a coach. And when I'm in certain cases, I just hand them my card. And on the card, I have two logos. It's my logo and there's a WeBank logo. And they go and they lean back, or rather in. And so now they dealing with a different business. So just to add to your point, Melissa, we're talking about, for everybody who's watching, you're probably doing business as a B2C, business to consumer. We're talking how you expand your opportunity to scale your business, multi-million-dollar business, by doing business with corporate, making yourself available. And that's by certifying. So those sponsorships, those workshops that, those little things that you want to get in, even if it's coaching, your clients might be behind the corporate wall. And so, there's a big difference from doing one-to-one coaching to doing, as a business to consumer, and the consumer is paying out of pocket, versus going to a large company and saying, I can coach 5 of your executives, and over a 6-month or a 1-year contract, and the dollars that you've just scaled your business exponentially. That's the value of certifying. I'll give you one more, and I promise you I'm gonna hush. This is way juicy. I'll save it. I'll save it when we get to the next question. There's another question. I'll save it.
Okay, so hopefully you all are taking notes and getting insights on yet another way that you can scale, because I love the online space. I get it. There are people making 6 and 7 figures just from being online. But I know for a fact, for me, I'm called both to the marketplace and to my private clients. And so the only way for me to get in front of people like, Dee mentioned the Dropboxes or the Wells Fargos or the Targets at the executive level, I had to show up in a different space. And so did Dee. And so I will ask now, now you mentioned a couple of benefits, right? What has been the biggest benefit of making that decision? So what I've heard is that it took a lot of time. You had to give a lot to get that certification, but it's paid off leaps and bounds. And so you mentioned sponsorship, you mentioned potential clients like Dropbox. What would you tell people? Why would it be worth it? If we're telling them, like, literally we felt like we gave blood or gave our firstborn child and all of that, because it literally feels like that. Why would it be worth it for those that have a desire to work B2B, business to business, to make that decision?
I think it's serving. It's serving it's service. When you step into that space, you have access to markets. You have the opportunity to scale much larger than if you stayed in the small space that you're in now. And what that means is, if you have the opportunities to scale your business, then you have greater opportunity to serve more people. So whatever it is that your product or your services that you bring to the world, you have an opportunity to do more of that, or to do it better, because you're increasing in terms of your income, your revenue. And so you're able to do more or do it better. So the answer is, what's the value? It's to serve. You know, I'm called to serve in a big way. And so playing bigger, right? There's a big assignment on my life. So playing bigger allows me to serve in a much bigger way. And I'll give you an example. And this is so sweet how God just set this up. I just took on my company just identified our social responsibility cause. And our responsibility for Diverse and Engage LLC is an organization called Black Femme. And I'm sure you all might know of companies who do big social responsibility campaigns where they give back to certain causes and things. They write big checks and they fund other nonprofits and such. My company took on Black Femme. And Black Femme is an organization founded by Chloe McKenzie. And Chloe McKenzie is a super sharp young woman who teaches financial literacy, but helps girls to specifically determine their net worth. Wow. And there's a photo on my Instagram right now of me and a little girl, and we're holding this big check, you know, those big giant size checks. And the check says to Black Femme, and it says it's in the amount of $10,000. Wow. And it's signed Dee Marshall. Wow. Engage, win, rock, and rule. The value of me playing bigger, scaling my company, doing the work, the sweat equity in, you know, getting out of my comfort zone and doing what I needed to do to not play small has allowed me to make more, earn more. We scale the company, we increase our revenue, we can write checks. I adopted 10 schools in the state of New Jersey for Black Femme to come and to teach girls about financial literacy and specifically how to determine net worth. Wow. So that is the full circle moment of what happens when you scale. If I was still playing at a very small level, and even when I couldn't do that, right? I went right to her site. I'm like, hey, oh, okay, I want to be a part of this. I adopted a classroom. And then I saw, oh, there's an option here to adopt 10 schools. And I go, ooh, that's good. So I put in personally my company. So we use a portion of our proceeds from the company to support Black Femme. And then I use my platform and I invited other people to join in. Let's expand. So that is the value of playing at another level and what it really means. I mean, there's lots of other benefits of scaling your company. I just came back from Cabo on Saturday, a week in Cabo, which was a wonderful opportunity. You know, years ago, I didn't take vacations. All of my work blended. Thursday, I'm on a flight to Paris. I'll come back on Tuesday so I can make it to Becky Davis, you know, Bosspreneur Circle. By the way, if anybody is watching, if you know Becky, please share. Come see me in Atlanta. So I will go there. I'll come back from Paris. I'm supposed to go to Google, but I won't make that. I'll go to be with Becky. I'll fly back home. And then the next week I'll be off at Odyssey. Why am I sharing that? Because that is the increase of life and quality of life and, you know, as a result of scaling. Otherwise, when I was a smaller business and just me, myself, I just had a job. Like that you create a job for yourself when you're an entrepreneur. But when you create a business, the business can operate without you being in the business. And so you can do more yummy things. Like I'm living a yummy life. Yeah. You know, vacation is good. I'm able to give. I cannot begin to tell you how precious it is to be able to write checks, to be able to people, to be able to give a little here. I promise you, I get Oprah Winfrey when she gave out those cars. I go, this is what I want to do. In fact, it's now a vision board. I ask God to increase me and make me a distributor. A lot of people call it philanthropist. I don't like. A lot of people are hanging their hook on that. I just like. I like it. Good to support. And when this woman, Chloe, says this Dee Marshall is the real deal, she does real empowerment. And what she meant by that is, I literally put action behind my words and I wrote a check. So that's value.
Wow. So what I heard is not only serving in the marketplace, but being able to serve at a completely different level that you would not have been able to had you not made those boss moves. So here's the thing. And here's where we're going to go next, Dee. Many people are watching, and they'll watch live or they'll watch the replay, and they want to get in these corporate arenas. They want to work with these corporate clients. They want to be at the conferences where all the major companies are, all the major leaders are, and they get their moment and they don't know what to say. They don't know how to network. So it's one thing that they're going to go and get certified. It's one thing that they're going to then go and sign up and show up to all the places. They'll come see you in Atlanta with Becky Davis. They'll go to the WeBig conference. They'll go to the NMSDC conference. They'll show up because they've done then the third part is showing up and delivering. Yeah. How have you been able to do that? And more so, speak to the person who is still, they're there, but they're still growing in their confidence. They maybe their personality style is a little bit more reserved, and they're not going to be the one that says, "Hey, I'm Melissa J. Nixon. And I have this WeBank logo on my card," and all of that. How have you been able to show up and meet a Dropbox or a Prudential and then translate that into a partnership or a sponsorship or a client? Because what we've been told and taught is that most of business happens based off a relationship, So
that's true.
It is true. But if we're just meeting and we don't have a relationship, take us through that point of, I'm here. Hi, Dee, I'm Melissa. How do I nurture that moment at Win Rock and Roll?
Yeah, so this is a good question. I didn't know when I first started out about networking. I just knew I just saw things were happening like, oh, I'm going to go to that, or, oh, I'm going to go to that. I think I was just naturally, genuinely curious. So I just showed, I didn't know until years later that I'm a natural networker. I've heard that I'm really good at it, which is crazy because I was painfully shy as a young girl and even a young 20-year-old. I mean, I was painfully shy. But a couple things. So one, I would say you have to lean in and just do it afraid. You have to get in the game because you learn in real time practicing. So just go to networking events. And, sometimes you might go, you might not be as vocal, you might not know what to say. In fact, I'll share this with you. Early on in my career, I worked for Merrill Lynch, and at the time I was in training and development. We traveled to 28 districts at Merrill Lynch and we did training, and it's a white male dominated industry. Yeah. I am a little brown from the hood, no less. And so I always felt awkward. I was a young 20-year-old. I didn't know what to say. It was just, I was so lost. But I kept showing up, and a long time after removed, I just warmed up to people and I just learned, but I was once awkward. I did not know what to say in a room full of people who did not look like me, think like me, talk like me. They had Ivy League education. And so I would say, just do it afraid. Just get into spaces where people are talking over your head, because even the way that you show up, will level up when you are where people are having these conversations. You just learn more. Second is I would say invest. And the reason I think there's a major distinction in the winners and those who have not figured out how to win yet is because a lot of women, particularly women of color, are not as good at investing in themselves. And what I say is nobody or not many people are going to really beat me at this game. And not the competition, but the game that I speak of is investing. I invest a lot. Now, I think in the coaching space, we'll find our peer group, like Melissa, you, me, and there's some of our colleagues who do, but then that's very few of us, right? Yeah. But the others, a lot don't understand invest in yourself. I have a team and I have a coach. I'm in 2 coaching programs right now. I usually only do 1 a year. And just so everybody here knows, I've spent every year for the last, I don't know, for however long, 5K a year, 16,000 a year, 9,000 a year. I spent 25,000 a year. So those all the ranges of numbers I have invested. So if anybody here is trying to figure out, well, what's the distinction? Investing. So that's how I learned how to show up. Another third thing is I went on a self-discovery, and a self-discovery journey helps you to learn more about you than we know about the Real Housewives of Messy. And when you know more about you, you show up and you show up. You just, because you're comfortable, confident. So that would be 3, a self-discovery journey. And then I'd say, you know, in this networking thing, just work on being and building organic relationships. Don't force anything. So being really interested, like, you know, what are you up to in the world? You know, being more inquisitive about other people than talking a lot about you. Like, that's what I did learn that rule early on, which why nowadays people will just, if I'm at an event, they'll just come up and hand me a card. And sometimes it's painful because my response, nobody here judge me, is I'll say, stop, hold.
That is my biggest pet peeve. Biggest pet peeve in the world.
So I building relationships. I have relationship strategy, relationship management plan. And so I learned this, and I don't know where I got this from, but I did get this at a conference. A man did something, the relationship management plan. And so I built what I call a Fortune 50 list, and I use this with my clients. And on the Fortune 50 list, it's the top 50 people, 25 to 50 people who you want to and need to stay connected to. And so there's a plan as to how to stay connected. So that, and then, you know, last thing I wrote down based on your question that you asked me, like how, like this networking and how do I get, you know, I rebranded my company so that, you know, to what it is that we really do. And so this has all helped me to get over the fear or lack of confidence or being insecure time when my brand just all meshed together. And I run a company. When people would say she's a motivational speaker, well, that's not like, okay, that's not like, I need business. Okay.
And so,
so those are some of the things that I would say for people who are like, this is so overwhelming. Just do it afraid. Invest in yourself. Connect with a coach and or a mastermind. It's definitely worth it. It pays off in dividends.
So really quickly, also on Dee's Instagram at Dee C Marshall, she just posted a list of 14 things of how to achieve your purpose, and a couple of them she's even sharing for tonight. And so I would hop over to Instagram just to read that list of 14 things that would be so helpful both in your business and life. So that's one. But we're kind of talking pretty quickly through all of this, but she literally just dropped some gems that I need you to pause and make note of and be intentional about, what am I going to do with this? So I created Courageous Conversations to be able to position primarily women leaders and women business owners to make their next courageous move. And so this isn't just for us to sit and kick back and say, oh, that was a great conversation. No, it truly is. What are you going to do with the valuable information from experts like Dee Marshall and myself, who are sharing what she does with her clients? She said a relationship management plan, your top 25, top 50 people that you then create a plan to be able to navigate those conversations, those relationships. She didn't have to share that. So that means for everyone that is either watching live or watching the replay, I'm praying and hoping that you walk away from this conversation, because I know I need to check my relationship management plan when I get off tonight, with Dee. So that's one thing that I heard. The other thing, and I'm drawing a blank on it, Dee, you said it at the end. It was about coaching. It's going to come back to me, but there were two major bullets that you had said in that last segment that I really want people to say, what am I going to do with this information? What am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
How will I apply it? How will I be different and show up differently? The one thing that I'll also say in reference to, once you get to the space, you say, you make a decision, you're looking at this video tonight, or at whenever, at some point in time in the future, and you say, you know what? I'm ready. I am ready to play bigger. I'm ready to not just politic with my peers. I'm ready to, get with multi-million-dollar business owners and CEOs and executives of major corporations, because those are who are at these conferences. And you go and certify, and you say, I'm signing up to the conference, and you show up. I would ask you, remember your why. Remember why you are there. Are you there for you? Because as long as you're there for you, you're always going to just shy away. You're never, you mentioned something that Lisa Nichols said, you're never going to be so overly confident. Go in with your knees, shaking. And I don't know, I always mix up quotes. So what does she say?
She says knees knocking and teeth chattering. Just get in.
Knees knocking and teeth chattering. Yeah.
Yep.
So you show up and, just start the conversation, as long as you want to serve others and making it about them versus about, am I good enough? I don't belong in here. I don't have these credentials, because I'm pretty sure, as Dee mentioned, we've all had that experience, especially if you are an African-American woman that has been in any leadership role. You have walked in and you have been the only one in the room, the only one. But guess what? You belong there. You belong there.
Yes.
You belong there, right? And so as long as you know internally you belong there, it doesn't matter where you've gone to school, doesn't matter what your degrees are, how much your revenue is, or any of that stuff. So Dee, I know that you've been leaving out some. You say, I'm gonna save that to the end. I'm gonna save that to the end.
Well, I just wanted to pause and breathe, because I can go for a while, so.
And listen,
Yeah.
we can go, for however long that you want. I want to honor your time, but I also want to make sure that everyone gets gets what they need out of this conversation. So here's the point in time in the conversation where I start to ask and share if there's any questions or comments or points of clarity that things that we talked about that you need clarity for. Go ahead and just start sharing that now. And I tell people all the time, when it's time for Q&A and everybody gets quiet, don't miss your moment. Don't miss your moment, because let me tell you, Dee gets thousands of emails, every week. I get emails. You cannot pick our brain for free, So here you have two executive coaches, two CEOs who are certified companies. Don't miss your moment. Ask your questions. Ask your questions. In the meantime, while they're thinking of, and there are no silly questions, by the way, so just ask. In the meantime, Dee, while they are thinking of questions to ask of you and of us, I would share, I would ask, tell us, you mentioned the rebranding. Love it, by the way. I can see the distinction.
Thank you.
I can see the distinction, and I love how it's been, even somewhat subtle. I'll see something on LinkedIn and it says diverse and engaged. I was like, oh, what's that? Or now it's the Yummy Life. There's a clear distinction that separates you and the roles that you play. And so, let me know the barbershop date. Okay. So I can see the clear distinction. So that was the one thing that you mentioned was the rebrand, and you said it very just like, oh, we decided to rebrand. I'm pretty sure that wasn't an easy thing to do, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yes. I did it because I knew, it was once I made a definitive decision as to where my business was going. And what I should say to people here is, I was in business a long time, as I know many of you are, and I came to the point of like really solid on, oh, okay, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing. Meaning you'll plug along for some time, doing what you've been called to do, or what you have birthed, or what you believe you should be doing, and that's fine. But I think there's a point in your business where you now learn, and you've received all of the data, and you know what it is that you're really good at, and you can clarify your unique serving or unique selling proposition. And at that point, it's okay to rebrand. It's like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. So midstream, I've realized, and I heard this feedback from my corporate client, the largest one that I had, Dee, you're really good at this diversity stuff. And so I listened to feedback from my clients tell me and share with me my value, my company's value back to them. And I made a definitive decision. I'm about to play this game, and I'm about to play so big, and I'm not playing checkers, and I'm going all in because if I'm going to do it, I'm ready to do it. And so I decided that I needed to rebrand because my brand was the lines were blurred. Yeah. I had the coaching practice, I had the business to consumer, and then I had the B2C, the B2B aspect, and then I had the faith-based space and it was a lot. Yeah. And then people would say, you should meet Dee Marshall, and then they say, somebody would say, well, what does she do? You just need to meet her. And I'm like, okay, that's not good.
Right.
They're well-meaning because they would like, you just need to meet her. Like, she's so fabulous. But what does she do?
Right.
What exactly does she do? So I decided to rebrand, and I hired a company last year. I knew where we were going. I knew my company at the time, Raise the Bar, was 80% B2C. We were doing largely coaching, and then 20% B2B. And then all of a sudden it flipped. It became 20% B2C. That was primarily coaching, life and leadership coaching, and then 80% B2B, working with corporate. And I said, I've now got to rebrand, because what would happen is I was speaking all over the globe, and people would say, people would go back to corporate and like, yeah, Dee, we want to bring you in. Yeah. They tell their people would go and Google Dee Marshall. Well, then they'd the website, and the website was all business to consumer, and I would cringe. They would still hire me, but I was just like, well, this looks good. I mean, Wells Fargo, they're like, we don't know exactly what you do, but we want to bring you in to speak to our. I'm like, ouch and amen. Right. Okay, that's. So they were looking at a B2C site. It didn't speak to businesses. So last year, I rebranded the name. I hired a company. It was a huge investment. It stretched. And so I hired a brand strategist. I don't know about you all. Y'all might be a little smarter than I just never knew what brand strategist does. All of these fabulous names of architect this and strategist that, I just didn't know. Brand, but I hired one, and she was brilliant. So my new brand, if you go to dcmarshall.com, it blesses my heart that it captures who I am. Yep. And on the page, you can go in one of two directions. If you're an individual, click here. You're going to go over to Yummy Life Coaching. If you're a business, you're going to click here. You're going to go over to Diverse and Engaged and never come back over to the website. And Diverse and Engaged speaks to our corporate clients. And so I rebranded, and I've gotten so much response. And so I do think there is levels of up-leveling everything. You have to be able to deliver. My company delivers on content, training, leadership development, executive coaching, but now I needed my brand to fully match. I needed people to be able to go one place and find all of this. So so the rebranding was huge. I would really encourage people to consider that when you're going to your 2.0. Consider and be prepared to pay. Hire the experts. Pay them. I didn't budget for a 5-figure investment for just the brand strategist. Like, how much is this? But she was so good. She's so, I blew the budget. I go, we're figuring it out. Let's go. Yeah. And so what I learned, when you've got business problems, like this is the Boston. The Boston is just throw some money at it. You got a problem. Now you come to the levels, we got money. So we just throw some money at it. We got brand. I'm going to hire the brand strategist. Then I had to hire a web developer. Then the brand strategist wanted me to hire a photographer, which I already had one on my team. So when you go over, just know it was a photographer that went into it. There was a brand strategist that went into it. There was a web developer. But when you're playing at another level, it doesn't matter. It's all pennies, right? Because right now I've scaled my business so much so I am stepping over. I'm intentionally stepping over the $1 bill to get to the 100. I see the $1. I don't want that anymore. Yeah. So you just look at it. I've had I've become such the businesswoman. My CEO of my company, her name is Charlie Marsh. Okay. She is alter ego. She runs this business like you wouldn't believe. By the way, Dee Marshall got fired 2 weeks ago and wrote the job description for Dee Marshall's replacement on the same day and hired program manager the following day.
Wow.
That's the balance of how I have grown, and not on my own. It's by great mentors, coaches who I pay, mentors. Even look, my silent partner is my mom. She listened. She started asking me questions like a year ago, and I would tell her, and then I said, you know what, Mom, keep asking me because it's good for me to talk this through. And she was really genuinely inquisitive. She'd say, well, you say you need to go to this place, but it sounds like it's fun. Do you really have to go, and why? And so grown as a businesswoman. I didn't come in like this. I came in so naive, so clueless, making so many mistakes. I messed up. I've not always done everything the way that it should be done, but keep going. I have learned going. I have learned to be okay making mistakes, although my bar is very high. Bar is do all things decent and in order, but every day I fall. But I continue, to press. And so I'm grateful now. We've got, a team of people who do their jobs. I mean, the big up-leveling was when Dee Marshall got fired. I fired. It was effective immediately. She was so horrible with one job. It was effective immediately.
Are y'all listening to her? Are y'all listening to say she fired herself? She fired herself. You know why? I don't even know if Dee Marshall got a pink slip, but she was just gone.
She did. It was a Wednesday. I was driving into my office when I got word that I was fired. And I promise you, I was driving in. So when I got there, I promise you, I wrote her job description for the replacement. It was effective immediately. And here's why. There's one of my mastermind buddies, Erica. Here's why. I know we're going places, and we've got a lot of traction. We got a lot of eyeballs and a lot of opportunity. And so we don't have time for subpar performance on the team. So if this program manager function, who's in that function? Because that's just it's just reckless. And so Dee Marshall, she's fired. Like, we need to let her go. Fired, effective immediately, because we're gonna release her to do what she was created to do, but she can't do this role right here. And I hired somebody within 24 hours. Wow. There was a time I could do that. But what I learned from the bosses hanging out with the women is, you got business problems, just throw some money at it. That's not a problem, because I got cash and we got cash flow. So throw money at it. We hired somebody.
Gotcha.
Charlie Marshall, CEO, my alter ego, and she don't play. And not today, we don't have time for subpar. So if I could fire myself, if we work together, I'm not going to be afraid to say this is not working. It's not going to be harsh, but it's just like, this is not working.
But listen, how long has Dee Marshall been at the helm that you had to make that decision? Like, girl, you got to go. How long before you fired her?
It was a long time. Yeah. It was a long time.
Yeah. Like, we're talking about it, we're laughing about it, but these are major changes, major decisions that had to take place. We gotta, and it's right at 9:00. Do you have time just to keep going just a little bit more? So
yeah.
You have talked about, and many of us that get investing and we get coaching, and I'm with you. I don't even like to share what I invested in coaching because people don't get it. They get it. I knew when I had literally probably 4 months when I left corporate, and actually when corporate kicked me out, but I knew it was time to walk into things that God had called me to do. I had about 4 months to say, girl, we got to get this thing going. So I took, and I said, and I'll be transparent. I had money stashed away in a 401k, and I was like, God, I trust that you will give that back and multiply it in years to come. I know it was okay. And so I took what I had because I knew that I needed to invest. I needed a 5-figure investment to be like, listen, girl, we got a short window. We're not playing games. I'm not sitting in a conference just thinking about what I want to do, but we got to go and actually execute and do it. So for us, we get it. But what I hear there are people that are on the brink and they kind of get it. They know they need help. Because my thing is, my God, there are so many consultants, coaches, trainers, therapists, and everyone's still stuck. I don't understand that. It's just like, it baffles me. But there are those that are stuck and they're just like, but everyone's a coach. Everyone's a consultant. Everyone has a mastermind. So how do we help those? What would you tell to the person that's, they know they may not be able to do 25K, 16K, or maybe even, 10K right now, but they can do something, but they don't know, because the marketplace is flooded, the online space is flooded. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who to go to, because everybody's an expert. Everybody's on the Forbes Coaches Council. Everybody, it's like it's everywhere. How do we help them make a decision? How did you know which brand strategist to go with? Because they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah, that it is it's an unfortunate thing and a difficult thing. An unfortunate thing that this is our profession, which is coaching and even consulting. There's low barriers to entry, because they're not, regulated or licensed sort of professions. So everybody is hanging their hook on it. And so it is unfortunate. And so I would say one of the things that really help me, even now that I invest with the programs, masterminding with a good group of people to keep you going and moving and motivated and sharing in a safer space when you don't have it, can be, even when you do have it, is extremely valuable. So finding just the right, and I think you got to pray about it. You got to really don't rush in. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a book, in my book, Pray, Live, Win. There's a whole chapter or a couple chapters on friends, mentors, your circle, being prayerful. That's where I really trust my gut. But I would say, one, start with maybe a mastermind. Two, when you're looking for a coach or a resource, I always say, try to find somebody who's 7 levels ahead of you. And they have to be, I mean, not just social proof, but make sure they're fully invested.
Yeah.
And for time. And they're not coaching and consulting you in an area that they have not proven themselves.
Yeah.
So it used to be that my clients, because I was doing life coaching, and they would ask, I would tell them, I go, no, eventually you would graduate out of this. Those of you who have businesses, you need a business coach. And you should always increase and grow your level of investment from, it was when I couldn't afford it. It was many, 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 many years ago. I'd go to Barnes & Noble on a Saturday and I'd read books. Yeah. Then I'd go invest in a workshop, and then I'd invest in a conference. And then, when I could afford it, I'd invest in a coach. But I couldn't always afford it. So I say 7 levels ahead, make sure they're social proof, make sure they're doing it and really doing it, and doing what you need. So if you hire a marketing coach, well, what does their marketing look like? So people would always ask me, Dee, what do you think about this coach or that coach? And I say, well, you know what? Make sure they're this or that, versus giving people specific names of people. Yeah. I would just try to make sure they're in it full time. They may not be 7 levels, but just make sure they're levels ahead. Yeah. I've had my manager ask me about people, and I've had to help her see, well, you have more than she does. So there's no,
you're not gonna be able to grow. Yeah.
Go. 7 levels ahead, connect with people, feel their spirit, their energy, see what they put out and produce. And then sometimes it's just going to be take a risk. Just
sometimes you have to bet on you.
What'd you say?
I said, sometimes you have to bet on you,
Just bet on, take a risk. I hear some of the bigger players, my peer group, have talked about, usually our peer group will say how much we've invested.
Yeah.
In our, in ourselves.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's like that. And all gonna pay off. Be encouraged though, people. Don't be about your investment. It hurts sometimes, but you know what? You're gonna make it back.
Yeah.
You're gonna get there. Like, sometimes you just have to make mistakes. Is our best teacher. And so, but I have it's work, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It is so worth it.
Yeah.
Business is about not money. Business is about F&O. Everybody who's watching, just type in F&O. Mm-hmm. That's what business is. F&O is, because it's not about the money. Mm-hmm. It is so not. It is about the freedom and the options. Mm. Being in business provides you the freedom, more freedom, and better options. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. You get the freedom. I had the freedom to go away on vacation. Mm-hmm. And whether I wanted to Atlantic City, whether mm-hmm. I wanted to go to, Hilton Head, whether I wanted to go to Vegas, mm-hmm. whether I want to go to Cabo. Mm-hmm. What business is F&O? Mm-hmm. And so, right, options of do I want to go buy a couch for my place? Do I want to hire an interior designer? Mm-hmm. That's option. Mm-hmm. Do I take an Uber to JFK on Thursday? Do we want to get a car option? Mm-hmm. Black car. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Car. It's F&O. Business is F&O. Mm-hmm. That's all it is. And so it gives you the freedom and it gives you lots of options about how you want to live your life. Yeah. It's not about the business. Mm-hmm. It's not about the dollars. It's freedom and options. I get the freedom to write this young lady a check. Mm-hmm. And then I have the freedom, somebody else is doing this little conference. I'm going to write a check mm-hmm. to sponsor their sponsorship opportunities. They said yes. Mm-hmm. I go, just tell me what they are. They told me, I wrote a little check. Right? Emailed me while I was on vacation. Did you get it? I did, but it was 2 weeks ago. So you know what I did while I was there? I said, do you have an electronic option? Wow. They said, yeah. They send me an email. I'm on vacation. Do you know how fulfilling it is mm-hmm. to just be able to do that, to be able to give back? You know how many people have given to me? Mm-hmm. So, I write a little check. It may not be a big check, but a little. And so it's about freedom and options. It's not about a specific number. It is not about a big number. It's just, what does it do for you? Does it give you the freedom and the option to wake up when you want to wake up? Mm-hmm. And if you're going to work hard, you might as well work hard for yourself. Because listen, it's not easy. It's hard. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it. Do it for you. Yeah. And eventually your business will grow. Eventually, just keep plugging and don't give up.
Keep plugging and do not give up. One of the questions that I saw earlier, Dee, was how do you get into the corporate space outside of your area? And it is exactly what we've been talking about tonight. It is attending major conferences like WeBank Nationals Conference, which was just last month, was it? I believe. The National Minority Supplier. You said what?
It was in March, and it's going to be in June. And I'll be I was going to save this to the end. I'm doing a workshop. I did a workshop at the last WeBank, mm-hmm. Which full circle moment. Mm-hmm. The full circle moment. So this you mean to tell me, little brown girl from the hood, mm-hmm. Painfully shy as a child, even as a young adult, mm-hmm. accidental entrepreneur, didn't really know anything about business, horrible at the P&L, mm-hmm. and tipped her toe in the water and then backed out, mm-hmm. right? And then back in. And so she's delivering at the conference. Mm-hmm. They called her twice. Wow. So here's somebody could have put you in the first time. And I mentioned this, you saw on my Instagram. Didn't I say you have to be able to deliver? Because I have lots of friends. I saw one of my girlfriends here. They put me in the game. Mm-hmm. But guess what? To be able to be called back again mm-hmm. and again, you have to. Now, not everybody's going to call you back, but at least if you have some traction mm-hmm. and build, then that means you deliver. Yeah. You have some good. Mm-hmm. You have the. So I will be speaking, and specifically, they have a program for women of color, mm-hmm. and they asked me to do. I'm doing a workshop on working on your business, mm-hmm. not in your business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's WeBank. It's Women Business Enterprise National Council. Mm-hmm. Is the name of the organization. It's for women. So if you're trying to get to the private sector, then do that. If you are a minority, then minority National Minority Supplier Development Council, NMSDC. Those are two that you can check out. If you're a veteran, there's a veteran first development council. There's a, if you're LGBTQ or you identify with LGBTQ, hey, there's another one of my former mastermind buddies. They're here.
Hey.
I keep mastermind buddies. I do.
Yeah.
And we pull each other along. We brainstorm and such. There's LGBTQ. And the reason, if you just join, you would need to be certified or want to be certified, because there are back doors. You can get in based on I got in on relationship, but I still full course because I just wanted to play a different kind of game. I wanted to play bigger. I just would encourage so many, all of the women here, if that's your intention, just go big. Because the greatest give back to the universe is to not to create a lifestyle business just to stay home with your kids or to stay home and take care of honey, but to really scale your business beyond the $1 million mark, right? There's a number, that some of you may want to aspire to if you're not already there, and that might be the 2-3% club. And the 2%, 3% club is, there are 10 million women-owned businesses in the country, in the U.S., generating $1 trillion in annual sales receipts. And only 1 million are employer firms, but only 2% of those 10 million women-owned firms in the country generate annual revenue in excess of $1 million. And the reason is because we tend to create lifestyle businesses. We tend to create these small things for freedom and options, but we do ourselves a disservice and we only do it for the now. We don't do it for the level. So I would listen, just go big. The universe is rising up and will rise up to meet us, but only when we lean in. And it's so much fun. It's hard, but it's so much fun. I will not give up my work, my business, my company. I mean, it's been hard. There's been days like, oh, I just want to cry today. I've never wanted to quit, but there have been where I've cried. There have been days when I'm like, God, you know the number. Like, okay, we need, but you know the number. I have fasted. So some of my resources, Becky Davis has a wonderful book, 40 Days of Prayer for Your Business. Sponsored books. I like Brandis Daniel for sponsorship. Like she talks about how to play in corporate, right, to get corporate sponsorship. I've seen somebody else lately, but anyway, let me stop talking. I hope I answered, I guess, a question.
Yeah, you did. You are awesome. You're doing great. Michelle asked, what certifications would you recommend? I'll respond and then I'll let you kind of go after, share with that, Dee. Michelle, I'll first say it depends on, what your business is, and what it is that you offer. If you're in the training consulting space, I would probably recommend WeBank. I'd also recommend the National Minority Supplier Development Council. I'm not exactly sure, like Dee has both. I am currently just with the National Minority Supplier Development Council, but I'm pretty sure many of the organizations, some of them have reciprocity, or they will either not take you through the entire process all over again if you decide to do both. But there's all kinds of certifications. There are state certifications. I live in North Carolina, so I'm certified with the state of North Carolina. I'm certified, with like the SBA. Just there's all kinds, but it all depends on your business model, your services and products, and what arena you want to play. At the end of the day, your goal is you want to be able to be a diverse supplier that can be trusted and not just someone that walks off the street. And the other thing I'll say really quickly, for those asking, how do you get into the corporate space outside of your local area? You can attend any of these conferences. There's a higher registration rate for non-certified businesses to attend. So if you want to, attend and pay at the non-certified rate, you can definitely still go and network and have access and all of that to see if this is a place in the space that you would want to continue investing. What else would you add, Dee?
Yeah, and so I'll also say this. Here's a way, and there's no shame in my game in that all of these organizations, the third party organizations are national, but they have local affiliates. So look for the local affiliate. And I just posted WeBank link and NMSDC link below, but look for the local affiliate in your area and just go to Melissa's point, just show up, just start networking, getting your feet wet in the organization. And then if you want to go to national, here's my no shame. For a number of years, and you know what? I think if I don't, well, no, I wouldn't do it anymore, but I always said I'd forever do this. How you can get conferences at no cost is if you volunteer. Volunteer for WeBank and you won't have to pay a $1,400 registration. I did that for at least 2 years and no shame. It was all good and it worked for me. In fact, it felt safer because there was a community, because these are conferences of tens of thousands of people. And so I would say start networking with the local affiliate of both WeBank and NMSDC and see what's showing up for you in terms of how are you feeling. I would not, Melissa, you are spot on to do one or the other. I don't believe you need to do both because the corporations play on both sides. The only reason I did both is because I had advice from 3 corporate players who, when they learned about my company and what we do, they said, there's a lot of business for you over there. I was actually on the WeBank side and they said, there's business. And so I went back to my advisory board and I said, you know, a Beverly White was one, and I think Avis Yates was another. I said, I know you guys always talk about it's expensive to carry both certifications. What would you say? Because the corporations, there's at least 3 solid ones that whenever I shared, you know, what my company does, they said, Dee, there's business. You should go over there. And they said, well, what are you working on like right now? Again, I said, because whatever you tell me, I'm going to go. And they said, yeah, you need. So that's why I have 2.
Yeah.
But guys, they're on both sides and you know, so yeah. I volunteer. You can do that. And just start stretching.
Yeah, I remember I volunteered at like the National Black MBA Conference when I first got my degree years ago, and that was how I was fresh out of school, didn't have a corporate role, and that was how I was able to get into those spaces. So Dee, we're getting ready to wind it down. I think I've caught most of the questions. Any other juicy, yummy news that you haven't shared yet about things that you're working on? I know you mentioned something about sponsorships. Kind of how you do with When Rock and Rule and being able to navigate that. Anything that you would want to share with the audience before we get ready to close out?
Yeah, you know, I will say I am working on an initiative, and this is through WeBank and Coca-Cola for women of color, specifically over the last year or so, well, through WeBank. Because they really want more women of color to play in the space. And so I would say for anybody who's watching and really, if this is resonating with you, just go over to my website and get yourself on the D list. And I think that's how you can stay connected to what we're going to be doing, where there might be opportunities, because I've really made a commitment to help other women. And again, this was part of my WeBank engagement. They hired my company because Coca-Cola has a huge initiative for women of color, and I'm a woman of color. I'm in the WeBank space, and so we're really working on some things to help more women of color kind of get into the space. We need equity there. We need diversity. So go over to www.dcmarshall.com and stay connected there. Yeah, I think that's it. I mean, hey, meet me at WeBank. I will be, like I said, I'm doing a workshop there. I did a workshop at Summit and Salute, and I'll be doing it also it's in Detroit. And yeah, I mean, you know, if you're looking for hire a coach, I'm not gonna say have to hire me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
pretty full capacity. We have other coaches. I've 4 coaches on my team.
Mm-hmm.
They're all certified and things like Gallup, Strength Finders, Colby. Hire a coach, and if you want to connect, you know, you could find me at dcmarshall.com. Follow everywhere online, and yeah, show up. I think that's it for the most part. But get in. There's space for you. There's business for you. There's opportunity for you. Businesses are looking for what you have to offer. And I'll say this last thing, and then just to prove a point that people, businesses, companies are looking for what you have to offer. So the Unilever client, which I can say because it's not secret, it's public information, but I was already in the process of working with Unilever. I really wanted to work with them after that Dove incident.
Yeah.
And, you know, after I did a proposal and, you know, they did something that was more scaled down, but then the decision maker over there, they said, but you know what, Dee, you know, you could do this thing, this women's thing and this coaching, your company could do that. But we're really interested in, would you be willing to do, we think you'd be really good with the men as allies. And I didn't really, you know, we do that, but I just didn't know the extent of the value that my company, she says, you all would be really good at that. And she says, and so when you all are thinking, where's your space? You have to just show up and the universe is going to respond. Because when she said that, you know, I started brainstorming with the guy, but then she came back, she said, Dee, if you just share your insights, you're sharing insights for Black women, and then you can share insights from women of color who you coach, right? What's my point in sharing that with the people here? It's just show up, be you, do you, and know that there is space for you. Know that somebody wants what you have to offer as is. Now, definitely investing, but that moment when she said, you'd be good at that. And if you share you in the form of insight, certainly we put together a proposal. So I just say that, encourage people here that there's so much opportunity out there. There's just tremendous opportunity. I run across people all the time and I hand off potential sponsorship opportunities, although brand is the woman. You know, I've got a lot of business buddies. I've queued up opportunities for my friends. They tell you they're coaches. So yeah, I think that's all I have for tonight.
No, that is not all you have. That was a lot. Yes.
That last when I said just show up and be you, do you? Remember I said I would hold it till the end? Just to give you more motivation behind show up and all of you to the table. I had one corporate client, who purchased 1,000 books. Ask me what book it was. 1,000 books. Ask me what book. I don't have a business book. So is corporate America? Is there a divide between church and state? It was corporate America. And not only did I get a speaking contract, but I got a contract for, yeah, we'll take your books. What's the book that you just wrote? Pray, Live, Win.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So, we started off the conversation like that, and I said I wanted to end here. So I'm so glad you brought it back to that and brought that up. Is there's so much, and this is something that I've come to the realization recently as well, Dee, because I admired as well as walked in, you know, the whole woman of faith, yet businesswoman, and, you know, how do we keep it separate, but yet that's who I am. And you just heard her say a corporation, major publicly traded corporation, bought 1,000 books of her Pray, Live, Win. 1,000.
Yep.
First word on the cover is pray. First word is pray. And so I remember, let me tell you this. Now, the corporation hasn't bought 1,000 of them yet, but I remember when I wrote my first book, The Courageous Life, How to Leap from Your Career to Your Calling, and everyone said, Melissa, you need to do a leadership book first. You need to do a business book first. And I said, no, I really feel like this is the book I'm supposed to do first. And so that's the one that I wrote. And it's been amazing. And it goes back to the whole pray, live, win. Show up and write the thing, do the thing, offer the service or product that you know you're meant to do authentically, because the opportunity, the doors will open. It's just a matter of you saying yes and operating in that space. And the one thing that I'm realizing is that most of my majority of my clients, the reason why they choose me is because of my faith. The thing that I've sometimes been like, I don't know if I should talk about that. I don't know if they should know about that. You know, of course, when we're working together and coaching and all of that, they come to know it. But it's the one reason why they either hire me or have referred me. And so show up, be you, do you, whatever that looks like, because someone wants what you have to offer. They want to buy that.
Yep.
You want to buy that. So Dee, thank you so much. Thank you so much for just an amazing conversation tonight on how to win with corporate contracts, how to win with small business certifications. As you can see, her business up-leveled tremendously. She fired herself. She rebranded. She relaunched. And the outcome has been why she hasn't even yet to see what is going to transpire as a result of saying, God, here I am. I want to serve. I want to write checks. Put me in a position to be able to do that. The time, the sacrifice, the money, Dee, it will all be worth it. It will all be worth it. So, all right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Dee, I'll email you and connect with you offline, but thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure as you leave tonight, you are walking away with, what am I going to do with this information? What's my next courageous move? What conference am I showing up to? And not just attending and sitting in the back of the room, but truly networking. What organization will I get certified with? At the end of the day, what are you going to do? All right, everyone, I'll see you soon. And next week we'll have Taylor Calamise. She's one of the Charlotte's best personal trainers, and we're talking all about how she expanded her business to be able to grow into larger territory. So join us again next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see you. Bye. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining. Good night, Dee. Thank you.
Good night, gorgeous. God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.